even after a concussion for a year, which is extremely frustrating, and you don't see the end a lot of times, it still can come back to good again, and you can be completely healthy again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Odd Tandem. You know, cycling is one heck of a hard sport, but when you have a concussion that lasts for 16 months, it gets even harder. Our guest today spelled it out for all of us to understand the importance of patience with a concussion and just taking the time to get back to where you once were. Jens, our conversation today was educational and entertaining. What did you think?
It was absolutely entertaining and educational. What I took away from this is the happy end of it. I mean, our guests seem to be in such a good place, in such a good shape, mentally and physically, that even after 16 months of struggle and uphill battles and setbacks, he came through and he's good. He is the good old Taco. So that's all we wanted. So I'm super happy that we had a chance to talk to him.
And he's recently returned to racing, and he talked with us the night before his race. So please sit back and relax and listen to our great conversation with Taco van der Hoorn. All right, Taco van der Hoorn, welcome to The Odd Tandem.
Hello. Nice to be here. Yeah.
Man, before we start, we normally start with some quick fire questions, but I just got to know this. When I heard your name, Taco, I was like, that's got to be a nickname. I mean, you're a Dutch kid with the name Taco. So please tell us about the origin of your first name.
Actually, it's there is in Holland. There was a famous hockey player, and his name was Taco van der Hoorn. So it's pretty close to my name now. And my parents just really liked it, and they really liked the name. So they were saying like, okay, let's go for it. So actually, I'm named after a hockey player. So that's how it started. Yeah.
That's cool. I always wondered.
Yeah, because you have the ice cream and the food and everything, but this is in the end the reason. But in some part of Holland, like in the north of Holland, Friesland, it's more common. They have a little bit more common name Taco, but in the rest of Holland, it's quite unusual also. So, yeah.
So we're going to get started with 4 quick fire questions, very, very simple questions, just to kind of break the ice and get this interview going a little bit. I know that you're racing tomorrow, but in your picture, like your biopic, you've got some pretty spiky hair. So first question is, when you're getting out to go, clubbing or get ready for those photos, do you use hairspray or gel for your hair?
Ooh, no gel at all. Sometimes some wax, but normally also a lot of times just nothing. So yeah, just that. Yeah, just my long hair, like having it. So that's okay.
Okay, if you could choose, would you rather be a breakaway rider or a sprinter?
A breakaway rider.
Okay. Gary Kneteman or Joop Zoetemelk?
Ooh, Joop Zoetemelk.
All right, old school. Okay. Last one, Graham Aubrey or Chris Boardman?
Graham Aubrey.
Hey, Taco, probably a lot of our listeners and viewers as well and us, we noticed you have been off the racing scene for a while. How is it now for you? How is your health, your body, your shape, and how was the way to come back to be able to start racing?
Yeah, it has been a really long time. I've been out of racing for 16 months. So yeah, that has been a really long time, and yeah, it's wonderful to be back. It's beautiful to. The most important thing is I'm like healthy again, and I feel normal human being, and that's the most important thing. And then afterwards, also the cycling is going good again, so that's also a wonderful thing, of course. But it has been a really long recovery and a really hard recovery. Yeah, so it's, and at one point you also think like this is gonna work or not, and you got some doubts, but in the end everything worked out, and now I'm healthy again, and that's wonderful.
And tell our viewers and our listeners what actually occurred. Your crash happened in the 2023 Tour of Flanders, I believe.
Yeah.
Talk us through what happened or what you remember from that accident.
Yeah, I crashed like I was trying to get in the breakaway, and then I was just a bit stuck at the side of the road, and I tried to jump on uh, um, on the pavement because I was just a little bit pushed and I needed to jump on, but I just hit my front wheel hit the pavement, and then I hit my head on the floor, and I hit my head like just before my above my eyes. I had 7 stitches, and it was like a wound until the skull. And yeah, it was a pretty hard quest, but everything after that, and this from what people have told me, I don't know anything about it anymore. Like everything is gone, but that's what they told me. That's what happened, and then they just put me into the ambulance to the hospital. And the first put some how do you say it in English? Like some needs to stop the bleeding directly with the machine. Um, but afterwards, I just went to the hospital, and I think when I was in the hospital, maybe 3 4 hours after the crash, then it started to get a little bit better again. Then from that moment on, I know some things, and then it was just the first few days was just really easy and just don't do so much, and more laying in bed because everything was causing symptoms like light, sounds. Um, Busy environments, especially. So then you really start slowly, like, yeah, every day it's gonna be a little bit better, but then, yeah, in the end, things took a long time. Um, and I started in the beginning, I started quite early with cycling again. Also, it's also what my doctor would tell me. I went directly to like the doctor of the national soccer team in Holland. They have a concussion, um, yeah, space where they just have a part of that part of the uh, yeah, where they're all trained training location where they all train the Dutch team. They also have a special treatment center for concussions. And I went there directly, and I followed that advice, but still, yeah, it didn't went according to plan. And I started with slowly getting on the bike after a week, but still, yeah, it I tried to push it a little bit, but after I think 2 3 weeks, I get a setback, and then it went pretty bad from then on. Yeah.
So at one point, because I had a bad crash with a little blood clot in my brain in 2009. At one point you realize, okay, I'm gonna have a normal life. I will be able to remember the name of my parents. I will remember my birthday, my name. I can write my own name, and I can
hmm
walk and go grocery shopping. At what point after crash you realized, okay, I'm good enough to at least have a normal life for myself? And at what point in the timeline of 60 months you realized I actually have a chance to become a bike rider again?
Um, yeah, I think um, daily life was going like in small steps. But actually it was I could do I could do after a month or so. I could do most of the things again. I could go for a small dinner with my friends, or I could go to doing groceries, or going to busy environments, watching my phone, working on the computer. But before that, this was all like really a problem. But after that, after a month or so, I could do that things. Only I would do it maybe for an half an hour, and then I have to lay on bed. So it was really, you need to, okay, in the morning I can do this, and then I have to the afternoon I just need to lay in bed for the whole afternoon, and then in the evening I can do this a little bit. So you really have to structurize everything and to plan out everything, what you can and what you cannot do, especially that you have enough rest in between. So that was first the plan, and then you at one point, I think after a few months, you start more like trying also the intensity in going on the bike. But that was causing a lot of problems directly for me. The biggest problem was if I my heart rate was going up, the blood pressure was rising, and this was causing a lot of symptoms for my head, and that took a long time. And I think only after maybe that was in March this year, March April, that I was finally getting some hour like some training on the bike, and that I was feeling a little bit of control, so I can do because that in the end you with all the things about a concussion is also you need time, but you also need to build it up at one point. So it's you make first you go, for example, if you go about daily life, you watch TV for 5 minutes and you take some rest, and you hope the next day you can watch it for 7 minutes, and then you take some rest, and the next day you can watch it for 10 minutes, and that's how you train a little bit also your head to get used to all the signals. And that you do for everything, like for watching TV, but also for going for the restaurant or going for other things. You just every time you try to increase it a little bit, but it's causing a little bit of symptoms. But then you take some rest, and the symptoms go down, and then hopefully next day you can do a little bit more. That's how it should go. But with intensity in cycling, it was a long time. It was difficult. It was not really increasing, and I could do one day do something, take some rest the next day. Sometimes I could do only half of it, and I get already a lot of symptoms. So it was really not logical, and so it wasn't possible to build up. And I think after maybe in this April that I finally started to feeling a little bit that I could cycle again. So it took more than a year.
But one of the reasons, and listen, we're going to get to you as a cyclist and what you've done, but I just feel that this is very, very important in this day and age to have someone with your experience. And it sounds like you have experience in this because you're almost 30 years old. You've had a concussion, a serious concussion before. I think that was back in 2016. But there's a lot of kids coming into this sport that don't have the support that you have, don't have the experience that you have, don't have the patience that you have dealing with something that is very, very serious. What sort of bit of advice would you give to a younger rider, say, I don't know, 18 to 24, that experiences his or her first concussion? Because there's injury, right? Like a broken collarbone, a broken leg. Like there's a set recovery time for something like that. But with a concussion, it often comes down to people questioning the validity of your injury. And that can get super frustrating, I'm sure. So what would you tell those young riders that are going through what you've gone through to give them a little bit of inspiration, hope, or morale and motivation to do this the right way?
I think it's the most important thing is that you take it seriously. Like it is there. It's not only in your head, like mentally it is there. It's causing symptoms, and it's vague. It's also vague for a lot of people. It's fake symptoms. It's difficult to explain it to other people because if someone didn't have a concussion, then it's really hard to feel like to go in your place, like, okay, this is really what's going on. It's really it's the fake injury. So I think it's important that it is there. It's not your fault. It's not it's that you still are suffering with a concussion like this. And luckily, like a lot of the concussions heal in 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then everything is back to normal again. There are just a few percentage, like 5% or something, that it's causing like long-term symptoms. They call it the post-concussion syndrome. And I get a lot of people because my story is out, that people on Instagram reach out to me, like they already have a concussion for 9 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years even. And yeah, it's nice in that way that you feel you're not alone with struggling so long from a concussion like this. But it's also nice. I think also example for those people that even after a concussion for a year, which is extremely frustrating, and you don't see the end a lot of times, it still can come back to good again, and you can be completely healthy again. And that's something. I think that's something to take with you. That still after if you have a concussion for a half year or a year, everything can go back to completely normal again.
So basically, take it serious, be patient about it, and you cannot rush it, right?
Um, no, you cannot rush it. It's in the end, it's impossible. It's impossible. You cannot rush it. It's just there, and it's just extremely. Um, you need patience for it, and sometimes it goes faster, sometimes it goes slower with people, and it's just how it is. And you need to find a good physiotherapist, a good doctor that can help you with it, because to do it alone is not possible. You need someone externally that can help you with it, because it's not good to sit alone with it.
And have you used or do you believe in the use of ketones to help with concussions? Because I've heard a few guys have used that immediately after their symptoms of their, hitting their head on the ground. They used ketones. Did you experiment with that at all, or have any, knowledge about using ketones to treat a concussion?
No, I didn't. Actually, at one point, because if you're out for 1 year, you get so many people with so many advices, of course, but everybody has some friend who used this or some friend who did that and some friend who had helped this, and it's also difficult because you always have the feeling that you're missing something, you're missing the next thing that can help you. But I think also at one point I needed to yeah to help myself a little bit. But okay, I'm not gonna do everything because it's impossible. I have the feeling I have one of the best doctors there is on the concussion, and I had a good physiotherapist, and I have the trust in them. And why should I search for things while they study for it and they have so much knowledge about it? So I just had the trust in them, and even when it was not working for a year, I keep trusting them, because why do I think I know more about these things? I don't think that's a good thing. It's really because, and I think there's also a lot of people making it's difficult, but a lot of people also people are frustrating, and they're looking for everything that maybe can help. There's maybe some supplement, or there's maybe this, or maybe this. They can sell you everything at one point because you're just that desperate after a year of not working. And so there's also an whole economy also about that, of course. And but in the end, I just trusted on my doctor, on my physiotherapist, and if they didn't think it was really useful, who am I to think that it will be? Yeah.
And when you applied for a new professional license, was there any extra questions, any extra test required? I said, yep, Taco, here's your license, there you go. How was that process?
I just had my license like 2 months ago or something. So
okay.
I didn't have a license for a long time, because indeed you have to say that you're healthy, and I was not healthy. So and in the end I got my license in Andorra, where I live, and I just needed a letter from the doctor that was saying like you're ready to race again. And when I was training full gas, and when I almost didn't have symptoms, but I just could train a lot, then I was healthy again, and then I could apply for my license.
I think it's pretty clear that no helmet can completely protect you from a concussion. But what do you think our sport can do better to avoid these sort of head injuries?
I think they're already doing pretty well now with the protocol during the race that they directly start if you hit your head or that directly the doctor will ask, or the team director or something will ask questions about, okay, where are you, how old are you, like simple questions, and then they know exactly, okay, is it like a normal reaction or is this something going wrong, and then they will directly take you out of the race. So I think that's already a big step, because you cannot make the decision as a rider to because also I wanted to also, my blood was everywhere, but I just wanted to directly reach my bike and go on the bike back to the peloton. So, and that's normal as a cyclist, because you're also not really there with the concussion, so you have to be someone else who is standing, but that's going who make the decision, no, you cannot ride anymore. And I think that's going now really well. And about rider safety in general, about crashing in general, yeah, it's difficult. It's also part of the sport that there are a lot of crashes, and if you crash, you can hit your head, and then you can get a concussion. So I don't think it's possible to yeah, it's just part of it, and I think now the protocols are better, so hopefully a lot of the riders will recover faster. But I also followed directly that plan, and for me it didn't work out. So it's just yeah, I don't think we can control it.
Now, is it your first race tomorrow after that, or you had already races before? Since you only had the license for 2 months, is it
No,
your first?
I already racing for for more than a month now. I did. I started in Leuven, and then I did Tour of Germany, and then did some other races. No, I'm already racing for some time now, and so that's yeah, I'm already.
And how did your body react after? I mean, just physically, your legs after so much time out, because cycling is developing quite fast, right? If you see how fast they go, and if you out, it's gotta be tough to come back into the race rhythm, no? So how did you feel after the first 1 or 2 races? I mean, just your legs, your body, you go, holy smokes, I'm never gonna be able to win against these guys?
Um, Actually, it goes quite well, I would
Oh
say.
wow, that's good.
So no, my first race was a bit of a shock. Didn't went so well, but afterwards I was in Tour of Germany, and I was quite surprised. I already did almost some power records, like after such a short time coming back. So that's going good, and I didn't have the chance to do a really good result now. But I think it was also because I had a concussion before, and it took me 6 months out, I think, and I was 6 months off the bike. And when I come back, I think I just hit it really hard with training. I trained 6 weeks, like incredible hard, to reach a good level. And then I think after I was only training for 6 weeks then, and I did my third race. It was in Bing Bang, and I won the stage there directly from the break. So that also gave me a lot of confidence that okay, then I was 6 months without a bike, and I come back really quickly. Okay, now I was more than a year without a bike, but now also I had a lot of confidence actually that if you train well and you're healthy and you can push your body, because I think that's really important. Like if you have still an injury and you cannot train really good, yeah, then it take a long time to come back. But at one point I was healthy again. I could just was in Andorra like 5 weeks, like really hard training, and then my level was quite similar than before the crash. So yeah, I'm confident also that I hope that I can do a result in the coming races somewhere, and I think my level is good enough. But yeah, for me as a rider, it's sometimes difficult because I also need a little bit of luck with the breakaway riding or with that kind of things. And yeah, if you have a climber that is just in good shape and that puts some good powers, then he goes to the climb and then you see that he's in good shape. But for me, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to show it at the shape.
Well, Taco, but now that we've transitioned into back you racing and riding and feeling good again, I just want to thank you for sharing all that information about your concussion with us and our listeners, because I think that's super important for people to know and to hear that, you know, it's a serious thing and take it serious. But like I said, we're moving on. So not only was it your name that really caught my attention back in like 2021, it was your handlebar width. Like, you're a pretty darn big guy. And you know what, 187, you're trying to go into the breakaways, and your name Taco van der Hoorn comes on the screen, and then you have these very, very narrow handlebars. What was your thinking about this when you first started it? Because to my knowledge, you were one of the first, if not the first, that went that extreme with your handlebar width.
Yeah, I think I started already like maybe 10 years ago or something, with the smaller handlebar, and I put my levers to the inside, and it was, and I think I was still junior. I just bought junior. I was around, yeah, it's more than 10 years ago. And then everybody was, but that was still the time that also aero suits were, or aero helmets were a little bit weird if you were wearing them. So it's always evolving, of course. But then I was riding with my aero suit, and I had a small handlebar, the 38, and my levers to the inside, and then you get a lot of things from people. They say, "Oh, did you crash?" And this is there because there you had to the inside, and then people were joking a lot about it, also about the narrow handlebars. But you see that also that things change at one point, and sometimes cycling is pretty conservative, and it needs some time to a lot of things need time to develop, and that's also with the smaller handlebar. And I think I'm not the guy with the biggest engine of the peloton. I'm not the guy with the highest 20-minute power or the highest VO2 max. And I think I'm always fascinating about, okay, how I can still beat these guys. How can we still be a pro cyclist if I'm not the guy with the biggest engine? And I think I always had a lot of fun about it, so thinking about that. So okay, I did it in tactics, I did it in material, I did it in aerodynamics, and training wise, I also studied human movement sciences on the university in Amsterdam. So I got a bachelor degree there. So I also have my background, my scientific background in that case about training, physiology, about aerodynamics, also biomechanics. So I used that information also in my own cycling career, and I was a bit of my own, yeah, how you say, your own guinea pig. Like I was just experimenting on myself, like thinking, okay, this this can help, and then I was trying it in the race or in training, and that's how I think like, how it started, and just the way to always become a little bit better, and looking for other ways, like for example Graham Mowbray. That's also why he's one of my cycling heroes in that kind of way. To look for other ways if you're not the biggest engine or not the best cyclist, to look for other ways to get better. Yeah.
So you didn't have a mentor or a coach that said, "Hey, sit on a bike like this," and you didn't go to wind tunnel test. Just you, the young Taco, went just by pure logic. If I should do this, it should help me with this. If I sit like this, it should help me with that. So it was your ideas and you tried it with yourself, right? Or somebody else from the outside told you, do this or do this.
No, actually, I did it. Most of it I did myself. I'm good friends with Jan-Willem van Schip, the track rider. He was also with his handlebar and with his position and stuff. So I lived with him also for a while when we were still students. And we also were discussing at the dinner table, okay, what can we do to make this better or make that better? So we also had a lot of discussions, and we helped each other in that way to gain some watts and to make some progress. So now I think, of course, you get help, but I think I did a lot of things myself, just trying, and then you say you hear something from something says. Someone says something about aerodynamics, and you take it in. Someone says something about food, and you take it in, and you all grab some points from everywhere, and then you you make it in your own mix.
Well, now that I know we're talking to a brainiac, bachelor of whatever, I didn't get to go to college, Jens didn't get to go to college. What is next? I mean, the UCI has banned the hoods from being tilted in too much. So you can't use that. You pioneered that, like you said, as well. Where else are you looking or thinking about? What other new things are the UCI going to be looking at old Taco and saying, damn, this kid just needs to stop messing around with the status quo?
Yeah, that's the thing. There will always come rules that just keep you in some boundaries, and then you have to look for new things. So that's always the thing, of course. And I think still handlebars are an important thing, and I think especially I think the most aerodynamic drag is still the body. It's not the bike, it's not the wheels, it's the body. So I think it's still that's the most important thing. Your position on the bike, maybe the suit is a really important thing, but especially your position on the bike. And I think a handlebar in that kind of way is a really important thing. And you can make it narrower or you can make it longer or that kind of things. And I think now if you look at the track cycling already, they always ahead of road cycling. So if you look at the positions they take, for example, on the bike on the track, then you will see in a few years they will always follow on the road also with it, because they're ahead and it's faster. But now I think, the handlebar. I was already with Cube before my injury. We were trying to develop a new handlebar together, and but then I had my injury, and then it didn't went through. But we had a prototype and everything, and we tested it, and it was pretty fast. And I think that's gonna be some new things, and that's gonna make some impact. I think, yeah.
When we talked about the track racing, some of the national teams, they use a bike where the fork is a lot wider, right?
Yeah.
A normal fork is
Yeah.
like really like within millimeters of the tire, and they have some wider ones. You think that will have a future in road cycling, or is it just wild?
Probably, yeah, I think so. Probably. I think a lot of these things come from they first will develop, they will put it more on the time trial bikes, and then afterwards they come to the road bikes. And of course it needs to be good in handling and everything, but I don't see a problem actually why it wouldn't be there. That's also a lot of the things you get. I'm not making it myself, but that's a lot of the things you always hear, why people are scared to do something different, because they say, oh, is it okay with handling? Is it okay to put your narrow handlebar? Is it not difficult to ride with that handlebar? But then if you find out that you're just starting with it, and then after 1 week you see, okay, there's nothing, it's 1 week is a little bit changing, but that 1 week is just feeling normal. And I think it also with this kind of things, at one point, first it's a little bit like, oh, okay, maybe this looks strange, maybe we're not gonna do it because it's dangerous or something like that, and then everybody will ride with it, and then they cannot do it without it. It's also with the disc brakes and with everything. We'll go like that. So probably also with the wide forks. Yeah.
So now I got to ask this, because you just kind of mentioned it. In 2022, in the Tour de France in 2022, when you got second on the pavé stage to Simon Clark, I don't remember now, but did you have those narrow handlebars even on the pavé, on the cobbles, on that stage 5?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So riding exactly the same position on the. Maybe I put my levers a little bit up, because otherwise you go off your levers in the front if you hit the cobbles too much. But it's a little bit different. But furthermore, no, I still think it's but then also in that kind of thing that in the Roubaix stage, for example, you also have the tire pressure that comes along and everything about that, of course. So that's also there's another part of it, but I also like to go into, okay, which are the best tire, which is the best tire brand. And it's also a pretty funny story that people like to mention. I went one time to Bos van Waller, like Arenberg, with the van, because I have an old van. I went there and in November to just test the tire pressure for next year for Roubaix and for the thing. And then I went just every sector. I went with some. I put my tires up to 4.5 bar, or how do you say it? You say it in Dutch like this, or 4 bar, or 3.6, or something like that. And then I would ride 350 watts over the Arenberg, and then I would just measure my time, and then you'll see, okay, this is faster than this, and then you have quite a good measurement. Okay, which kind of a tire pressure I need to use to go as fast as possible over the couples. So yeah, this is are really nice things. I always like to just also a little bit of a hobby to just explore and to see how I can gain some watts there. Yeah.
Alrighty then, when we talk about tires, let's go a step further. I believe it was Team DSM some years ago. They would have some automatic tire adjusting boxes on their bikes. They didn't race with them, but apparently until the very last moment, they thought about it. Have you ever tried one of them where then with the little button you can reduce the pressure or put it higher for the pavé or for the flat sections? Is that something you would consider this winter to go back there and test in Roubaix?
I think it's a perfect suggestion. Yeah, I go for it. Yeah. No, exactly, because I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be extremely beneficial. It works in a proper way. I just hit my head with the injury, so I when it all started. So I didn't do it myself now. I didn't road with it myself, but I think the whole development is really interesting, and it's gonna make a big difference if it's working well. So yeah, for sure, it's a good one. I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna test it in November directly. Yeah.
Please send us pictures.
Yeah. Okay, I will. Yeah.
So 2024 was a huge year for one of your teammates, Biniam Girmay, right? You're on the Intermarché Wanty team. He crushed the Tour de France, won stages, won the green jersey. What is he like? What is being teammates with Biniam like? Is he a good dude? Is he fun to be around?
I like him a lot, Binny. He's really, he's just a really lovely guy. He's just really calm. He's really, how do you say it? It's just a really nice guy. He's really down to earth. He's not have a big mouth. He's if you see now how big he is as a star in his home country, it's incredible in Eritrea. It's like the president, or even more than the president. He's so famous, but he's so down to earth himself, and I really like him. And I know also the first time when he was coming to the race and to us, like in Tour of Poland, I think it's more than 3 years ago. He was a little bit like, bit, yeah, then a kid, really like a kid, but already really just a really nice guy. And I was back then I was already so impressed about his capabilities and also his riding in the bunch. Like he didn't do a lot of racing also in Europe and that kind of stuff, but he is like incredibly good in handling his bike and also in going in the bunch splits. And it's yeah, I remember that we were his first. He was a stagiaire in our team then, and at one point we were just talking a little bit. I didn't know him so well. It is, what you can do best? Are you a climber or are you a sprinter? No, I'm a little bit good in the small hills, but I'm quite fast. And we were looking at his legs, and his legs are like there's nothing like a climber leg. It's nothing. But then we say, oh, and there was one sprinter of the teams, Andrea Pascalon, and they started a little sprint. And it was just, he went so fucking fast. It was just incredible. So much faster than Pascalone. Everybody was really surprised because if you see him, you don't expect he is so fast. But yeah, it's a big talent and it's a lovely guy to work with. He's also really thankful always for the guys who help him in the races. So it's yeah, I really like him.
I have to admit, I had the chance to meet him a few times at the Tour de France interviews. He stops for us. He gives smart interviews. He has a smile for everyone. And just as you say, one of the first things I always say, hey, the team did well today. The team worked great for me. So yeah, it's easy to like him a lot, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's also like some guys also, they know they just say it, but they say it because it's also good for to say it. But he also really feels like that. He's really thankful to us in every way, and also when there are no cameras or something, he's there. So it's no, it's a nice guy.
So, given the fact that you had to take 16 months off or a year off, whatever it was, actually, what does the end of the season look like for you? What would really make this last couple months of the 2024 season successful in your eyes? Not anyone else's, but yours.
Actually, the most important thing is that I'm healthy. That's actually the most important thing, that I can do also just ride my bike, that I can do daily life, that I can just go to a restaurant with friends without thinking about it, that I have to be careful with something, or that I can just ride my bike for 7 hours in Andorra and enjoy the view and that kind of things. I think those are the most important things that I already achieved now. So actually, it's already a success, I would say. Nice. But furthermore, but then I'm also. You go to racing, and then everything you race, you think, this could be better. Directly, also you want to do result, and maybe it's not. It's not really. You directly go for it, and want to go for the result. And I still hope I can do a good result somewhere this week, and that it can be close to a victory. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but that's what I'm aiming for. And if I'm not gonna say if I do this, then it will be a success. If I just try my best every race and I try to win the next few races I do, and hopefully it works out, but maybe not. And then I did everything I could, and then it's also fine. So that's.
So Bobby and me, we can still feel the passion in you, the fire in you for the sport. I mean, you want to try, your tire pressure for Paris-Roubaix. May we ask what the contract situation is for you for 2025?
Yeah, at the moment I don't have a contract. I signed a long-term contract with Intermarché, and now it's ending. So and I at the moment I don't know about my future. I think everything's gonna be fine, and there will be a pro cyclist next year. I think that's gonna be okay. But I don't know where. I don't know in my team. I don't know if it's gonna be somewhere else. So it's always exciting. It's always a nervous period because you want to have some. You're doubting, of course, about what's gonna be, and it's also. But I still have to trust that everything gonna be all right. But I hope I have some certainty soon. Yeah.
Well, Taco, you definitely come off as being very cerebral. You're a tinkerer. You're experimenting with new things. After you were well enough, healthy enough, able enough to watch the races on TV, I assumed you watched a lot of races on TV. Have you learned anything with this last, from the current peloton of this last year that really is interesting to you? Because I've been out of the sport a long time, and watching, this year in particular, there were some things that stood out. But I'm curious if there's any observations that you've made being on the sidelines, the forced sidelines over this last period that kind of, get your tinkering, educated brain working in overdrive.
Actually, I didn't watch so much cycling, to be honest. Okay. Like it's also maybe a bit of a defense mechanism for myself to don't go too much into cycling. So I had my head a little bit on other things. It's about my friends and my girlfriend and my personal life in general. And I focused a little bit less on cycling because at one point it's also just painful that I couldn't be there, of course. Um, yeah, and also so it also interested me a little bit less. I think to I just focused on other things, and I think that was good for my mental health also. So in that kind of way, I didn't watch too much. I think I only for from the Tour de France I watched everything on. So I can tell you something about that about the superhumans like Pogacar, but furthermore, I didn't follow it too much. No. Yeah.
Hey, I have an easy question for you. And it's just a nice question to relax a little bit. Giro Italia 2021, stage 3. Remember that? I had the honor
Yeah.
to commentating your stage win. You were in a break for a long time, right?
Yeah.
At one point, you started to hope I could make it. And at one point, you actually know, oh, I have it. Just remember, you won with what, 8 seconds or what was it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
So,
And you kept holding them. You had what? At 20 kilometers to go, you had 25 seconds, something like that? Right?
yeah, I think it's when I attacked with 10K to go, I had around 40 seconds or something, and then it went up first, and then in the last few Ks it went down quite fast. But yeah, it was a nervous situation. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at one point, you started to think, it might just work out. And at one point, you thought, yes, I have it.
Um, yeah, I think I already like I think I jumped away from the other rider where I was in the break with 10K to go, and when I rode away, I increased my gap until 1 minute. So then I was thinking, oh, maybe this gonna work. But then it went down really fast, so then I was a little bit getting nervous. But in the end, in the last K, I think I looked around maybe once in the 10K because yeah, it doesn't make sense. You just have to go as hard as you can. So but then I looked and then I say, okay, this is gonna be safe. Just don't crash, and then it's gonna be safe. So I think in the last K I knew it's gonna work out. So then the last few 100 meters I could just celebrate. Yeah, it was an amazing feeling because it also was a yeah, I was in Jumbo before. I didn't have some good years in the Jumbo Visma cycling team. I was struggling to get a contract, and then in the end, I was staying with Intermarché, and then everything went really well, and it was a really still by far my biggest victory, and it was a special moment. Yeah.
My last question, because we're coming towards the end of time, is I had a friend who was a neurologist, and he was super passionate about cycling, like rode his bike all the time. I think he had like 10 bikes, and he had his third concussion. He called it the third concussion rule. And he had that, and he just walked away. He had to walk away from riding his bike outside, and then he didn't really enjoy it riding inside as well. But that was a major thing for him. We all hope and pray that you get a contract and you're again in the European peloton. But if you did have to walk away from the sport, I mean, you have an education, you're a smart guy. What other things outside of cycling would you want to pursue if for some reason you didn't get a contract or you had to stop due to another concussion? What do you want to do the rest of your life?
I've been thinking about it. I was forced to think about it a lot because also at one point in the winter, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm never gonna come back to cycling because there was no light in the end of the tunnel. And I have thinking about it also to step away from cycling and to go can do something completely different. But in the end, I think I will stay in the sport, and I think I will. Um, I think I would like it to work as a trainer or as with my education. I think my knowledge now and my experience as a rider. I think this will suit quite well, and I think it would be really nice to help young guys or help other guys to develop. I also worked as a trainer last year a little bit more. There's some of the other things I focus more on, and I really liked it to train some young guys to help them achieve their goals and to help them. And also I noticed that also in the team that I'm now riding now, I really like it to ride with these young guys and to help them a little bit in the world of cycling. And so I think I want to do that, and maybe go back to studying. I also was thinking about that, to maybe focus a little bit more on a master in sports psychology. Focus a little bit on that part also, because I kind of think it's going to be really helpful if you're a trainer also to have more the physiology and the psychology. And then with my experience, I think then I will find my way in some kind of trainer or physiologist in cycling. So I think that's, or in another sport, because I would love to see how it goes in rowing or in athletics. And I think it's fascinating how it will be there. And but I think trainer will be the most thing, to really work with young athletes.
Taco, thanks a million for being our guest tonight. It was fantastic to see you, and I'm sure I can talk also in the name of all our viewers and listeners. We were all so happy to see you back, and back racing and being back to be your normal self, right? So yeah, thank you one more time for being our guest. We won't steal much more of your time because you need some rest. You're racing very soon, right? So thank you, and best of luck for the coming races.
Perfect. Thank you, Jens. Thank you, Bobby.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. There'll be loads more content popping up here, including more great interviews with top guests like Taco. Keep dropping your questions for us in the comments, and check our description below to find us on social media and Patreon in order to support the channel, like these great people.